beloved children of light and well-loved starseeds, that peace and joy are his home. I come to you, not to express some elements, but, much more, to answer questions that arise in you. Thus, to its current evolution, to its transformations, their perceptions and vibrations, if there is need for words on which I can play me, so I listen to them. Question how to tell if a voice indoors, listened as the outside comes from a being of light or shadow? So if I speak from outside, then this is not a voice interior, but an outside voice. The first thing is to determine whether this voice, whatever its tone or its pronunciation, call it by name or not. A being of light belonging to the unified worlds will always whisper in the ear abroad, a name that is yours. On the other hand, a voice of light will always be manifested by a set of vibratory perceptions. These vibratory perceptions as to their location, allow us to confirm the source of the voice. A being of light, belonging to the unitary light can intervene only at the top and the left. A being belonging to what is called astral, no pejorative or negative connotations, a disembodied, you will always be heard outside of itself, the right ear, on the top right. This does not suffer any exception. This is profoundly different from what is called voiceover interior, that it expresses a contact level in a voice interior belonging to a part of being stage not being the personality can both come from the astral to the higher planes. Question how to recognize a vision comes from the soul or astral? Beloved, there are many, many ways to learn is this kind of vision. Understand, however, that the effectiveness as to the origin of this message is especially demonstrated by the utility or not, in your life. If this is of no use, no matter the source. If this is only visions having no substrate in this world or any use, what interest? If no use, then this is the most important. Now any mechanism, appearing in visual form, either at the level of the third eye or the level of closed eyes, belong to the mechanism called vision. A vision is always the translation of which is captured in a world, whatever, but translating the astral level. The astral, itself, is non-negative, which is negative in the sense of duality, are astral layers in resonance with the human confinement, provided that the mood is considered as it is, or a mid-plane, having no other reality than the reality of this world in which you are. Various prophets saw visions. It is very delicate to transcribe these views because they are printed necessarily inside your brain and turned then to his own dialectic, its own world, its own reference. Once again, when it refers to a consciousness with him same, the source put up is perhaps useful for a voice. With regard to an image or a picture, which is the usefulness? There is important and not, contrary to the voice of origin. We must also understand that, from the time when the crown radiant heart is awake, cannot be another vision beyond vision heart, which has nothing to do with the constructed view, appearing behind closed eyes. One who has a vision, which is linked to heart vision, realize, of course, the heart vibration and cannot in any way put the question of what is seen origin. The questioning, always refers to a choice. The choice regarding a mechanism, vision or hearing, or clairaudience or far-sightedness, is always associated, as the question exists, it is not the unit. The unit does not arise question these views because the heart vision is installed. The unit does not arise question of what is understood, because the unit, no trace of duality may persist. No world belongs to the duality, and in particular the astral can interfere in that living unity. Question the feeling of pins and needles in the eye, such as fine needles, is linked to ongoing proceedings? This is associated with arguably the acquisition of vision ethereal. Question that is due to a strong heat in the upper part of the body, rather disturbing? There is, from what you would name 15 days on this earth, a Adamantina light precipitation that never existed before. The particularity of Adamstown light is to stimulate the cellular and atomic level of your being in this body of flesh and can give a cooking sensation. Question no more get to read the messages, forget the stars, is a strength? Often, this is, well loved, a light appeal to forget all this to penetrate precisely the unit. Current mechanisms imply, for many of you and will lead to an increasingly large number of consciousnesses in the said consciousness changes, with periods of amnesia or withdrawal, both in its use of time as your consciousness. This is perfectly logical because, as eliminate a world, if he stays? Question: when the ordinary consciousness tries to live the processes to connect another consciousness plan, the soul cannot agree? Yes. That is why there is the dark night of the soul. That is why, while the soul is not diverted from the body by tilting principle of doors vision and attraction, the soul cannot access the spirit. It brings out by feelings of discomfort. It brings out a diverse and varied imbalances. Remember that the will of good, the will of light is located in perpetual way, personality, and you cannot access the unit by the personality and even less for the soul. The mechanism of personality to replace always was, as I said from the beginning of my intervention, abandonment to the light. Abandoning the light will never represent the will of light. Will light away from the light because away from him. The sea can only appear if all else turns off for a moment. Desires, emotions, thoughts, feelings. Cannot there be open to sea while whatever but the sea is present? Question: which corresponds to the sensations of heat and chill at the top of the head? All this corresponds to the vibrations of light adamantina depositing and penetrating the radiant crown of the head, ether channel. Question: how to manage not understanding a close? Life, in general and particularly today, only gives to experience what you yourself created. The other only exists, in fact, you. While the other, even the worst enemy or beloved, it is considered to be outside, whatever manifest, their externalization and projection, and not internalization. Being confronted with the law, be faced with a child, be faced with a parent, it's just a result of his own creation. There is no reason not to condemn the outside, not to condemn, but simply to be aware that everything happens in the interior and nowhere else. There are only to be. If you express as a confrontation principle, whether violent or not violent, he always correspond to a fault present in its structure and in its consciousness. How could it be otherwise? Life just shows you and gives you to do what you let it create in environmental field and in their auras, and their state of being of the body. Question: what is the difference between Jesus the Son of Mary and Christ? Beloved, there is a Christ who is the principal Christ. This was very long developed by different actors in this channel. Jesus received the Christ principle, the same way that an awakened, you have among the ancients, was carrying in aggregate vibration Christ. The historical story of Jesus Christ was very profoundly altered and deformed. Thus, all that is presented to them to believe in it here was deeply fake and not back to Christ, but is prior to Christ. The same story was repeated. The purpose was to create, not a release, contrary to the words of Christ, but an additional confinement, making them believe in a Savior outside himself. There is no one who will save them yourselves. Christ has been revealed, he is calling them to live bright light, but he cannot take them and he cannot save them. He always told them that you and you alone could pass the straight gate. If not, what to do with the other peoples of the world, who do not have anyway the same culture, the same traditions, the same principles, called Judeo-Christians? What they become, they will never have access to the beginning of Jesus Christ. They, however, are deprived of Christ? Certainly not. Question: which corresponds to the extreme muscular tension during the alignment period, pelvis, neck, thighs? During those times, beloved, you live extremely powerful atoms down light inflows can effectively for some trigger all kinds of reactions to the body level. It would be tedious to enumerate all the possibilities because they are so numerous as you are. Just at that moment should not seek an explanation or a cause, but ask the light, herself, to express their intelligence about what you live in the body. Question: you must divert attention these tensions? Completely. Entrust them to the light, not asking for the light to go to this place because she is smart enough to know it and to do it, but simply to show and express their own confidence in the light. Question: is correct that the boats could hold land evacuations? Beloved, there is no other command that of Mary. Now, it's up to you to decide if you want to put your feet in a metal ship. It's up to you to know what you want to be evacuated, as what comes is light. Remember, to views caterpillar or butterfly. What the caterpillar calls death, the butterfly calls birth. Some caterpillars want to stay caterpillars. And well, yes, they are taken by other caterpillars. But do not come, then, complain of not being butterflies. Question: Jesus, Son of Mary, is still incarnated on this earth? I can answer them, no. One who was named Jesus Christ is yes. It seems to me that he left with his body. He then ascensioned, as you say today, with the body. You will find today on this earth, due to the influx of adamantine particles that I specify them, began their action from 84-90 years, large numbers of people who have appropriated the light, instead of becoming transparent. This explains why, today, you will find I do not know how many archangels Michael incarnated, you will find I do not know how many incarnated Marias. These are just disguises and abuse of appropriation. We told them, without stopping, dissolution in the light. How can there be in the midst of dissolution, in light of this time, no identification as to what is coming from a past, whatever it may be? History is only a falsification of truth. The history of this world, since it's fake, it's just a web of lies. Do not forget that you need to have the humility to recognize his confinement, and that they are given to do, as given to understand or believe, is only the reflection of what they want to make them believe, not what is free of any belief. You can believe who you want, but believe whatever or whoever it is, will never make the living unit, because the unit is precisely the total absence of belief. We have no more questions. We thank you. Beloved children of light, well-loved starseeds, I am the angel Anael, and as ambassador of the conclave, I give them against everyone, here and elsewhere, US and unified. Meanwhile, the whole relationship of the Archangel of Love accompanies them. A fusion energy, see you soon.